down the music a little bit. And again, I know I'm not ready because everything's a mess here. Let me adjust my camera. You know what? We'll just adjust the keyboard. Yeah. What was I gonna do? I'm missing something. Give me 1 second. Okay, let's get started. So yeah, welcome back. Sorry, I was completely unprepared. I was running late, and so for that reason, I'm having to make some adjustments here last minute. But anyway, back at it. We're working on our application, and I had just fixed I had just fixed the whole issue with the sessions. The session was blocking on the table, the SharePoint list. We were getting blocked from creating the or from deleting rather a task because it was tied to a session. And so what we did was I updated the API so that the API now deletes the sessions and then subsequently deletes the task. So that was avoided. That issue was avoided. We can work on this as well. And I think I had come up with this for the recurring tasks because we have to have a form for so that we can depict exactly how this task is going to be repetitive. Another thing that we need to add to the form as well is if we look at the form itself, it doesn't have like an area for either a due date and it doesn't have an area for the recurring task process, so we have to make sure that we update those two things. So with that being said, I guess that's what we'll do today. We did, like I said, fix that bug yesterday, and so we're gonna be adding due date to the task form. And then we're also going to be, what did I say? I don't remember. We're gonna be, the due date. We can drag this up here. So let's go ahead and start by doing that. So on the task form, so I know we have the validation. In the validation, we do have due date. It's defaulted to an empty string, but it is not required. So we have to work on making that. I don't know. I mean, I personally think that due date, if you're working on a specific task and you add it without opening the entire task, my first thought that comes to my mind is you're probably going to want to do it sometime during that week. So my best assumption, or I wouldn't call it my best assumption, but my best approach to what I would consider the due date to default to should be somewhere within the end of your work week. So let's copy this path. And here on Cloud Code, we're gonna give it the task form. We're gonna give it the validation file. And then we need to basically add the control to be able to add a due date. And then the due date should default to the end of the user's work week. So yeah. Like for instance, it doesn't necessarily mean to the end of the, well, technically, yeah. So at least until whenever the next off day occurs, or I would say 5 days from today's date. It could default to either or, right? So let's do that. So we need to do the implementation. Implement due date on task form. Due date should default to the nearest. Well, no, wait a minute. We have to think about this. Because the form itself, when I open the Kanban board, for example, you can add a task here for today. You can also add a task for this week, or you can add a task to the backlog. So we need to go and look at the form for add a task. So add task. And so there's an inline add task. And the inline add task, let's move this over here. All right, so in the inline add task, there should be something that allows us to determine is it under handle save? Concurrent week new task. Yeah, here we go. So in the switch parameter, so the inline add task, so we're gonna have to change the requirements here. So due date should default to the, so the due date should default dynamically to fit the form context. Seeing inline add task. Yeah. If today due date is set default to today, if week, it defaults to end of work week based on use app user hook. And so let's go ahead and show use app user. So let's give it that context as well. And so the use app user, let's give it the object as well, just so that it understands what we're saying. So here in the content area, here's the use app user. All right. So it defaults to the end of the work week based on use app user hook, which tells us the work days, right? The work days for a specific user. So it's gonna use a use app user hook, and it should default to the date of the end of the week if it's for this week. If backlog is tricky, right? I mean, I don't know that you would want something in the back. I mean, if you're putting something in the backlog, you're just adding a bunch of stuff that you really don't know. When the due date. If it's for backlog, no due date. Unless user opens full form, then due date should be blank. They can add a date if they wish to do so, but for inline add task, we should not default to a specific date. Right? Like, we shouldn't be defaulting to any specific date. Yeah, so if they open the task form, let's take a look at the task form itself, because I just want to make, I think I've already done some code review on here before. I never see without estimated minutes. I personally think that estimated minutes should basically be required. Because I noticed that here it gives us the option to save it without the estimated minutes. Pending form data. The pending form data uses on save task, which I don't want to do that. So I guess I didn't do very thorough code review on this task form. I think let's make estimated minutes required and make sure that we remove function to allow to save anyway. By default, estimated minutes should be 15 minutes. So that way, you don't, I mean, the user does, like, if you go to the quick add form, you don't have to necessarily worry about the estimated minutes, right? Yeah, so let's handle that way. So we can get rid of this handle. Oops. Handle save anyway. And then on submit, we use the regular on save task. Oh, another cool feature that I can think about that we can add in the future is, or maybe something that we can address this week, is we can add a clone task feature. I think that would be a good feature to have. All right, let's keep on looking at the form code. What does this show mismatch? If actual seconds minus total elapsed seconds. It's using the absolute value of actual seconds minus total elapsed seconds if it is greater than 60 That's when I was checking to see if the sessions, that's totally fine. We want to make sure that the sessions, some of the values from the sessions is matching that of what, um, of the total amount of seconds that we have worked on something. So if we have 3 sessions that are 20 minutes each, so 60 minutes, and your actual seconds are showing 59 minutes, then there's a mismatch. So that's fine. That's correct. The code is fine there. All right, so on the validation file, another thing that I think we should clean up is get import from yup, remove import all, which you have set as, oh geez, as yup. Change it to import individual props. That way file is not flooded. Yep. So let's see what it does there. I really gotta come up with something to do while I wait for some of these changes to occur. Maybe we can do some reaction to some videos or something. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. I've been seeing a lot of videos about, about how AI and, a lot of things about AI and how some people are just being reluctant to start learning code because of AI and everything. But if you've seen anything, if you follow me and you watch my streams, one of the things that I always show is just how many errors. Give me 1 second. What is that beeping from? Oh, did I run out of time on the task? Yeah, I sure did. That's why. You can see that I ran out of time on the task. Let's move on to the next task. Let's actually add a task for testing and I'm gonna do 30 minutes testing. Oh, and we're also gonna do a little bit of code review. I don't know if it would be 30 minutes. Due date changes. That's what I wanted to do. Get rid of all that yep stuff. All right, so task form TSX, workdays prop, due date default per context, due date field per estimated remote dialog related state handlers. Okay. Workdays. Due date field position after estimated durations before notes. Actually, that's a good question. Where would we put the due date? What would be a good spot for that? I need to change this. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the due date. I personally think the due date should be, because what is it saying to do it? Due date field position after estimated duration. I personally think it should be next to the task name. Only because you have to remember that when we're editing the form, we have this sessions menu. So you can see the sessions table, if you will, to the side. So I think this is the tough part about making these decisions. I just wish that, you know, I wish there was a way that we could. Ooh, that's too loud. I'm trying to adjust this thing. Sorry about that. Hopefully that works better. I'm gonna delete that for today. I was trying to make adjustments also to my setup here. Sorry about that. Okay, so going back to the due date location, the placement of that field. I'm just really drawn back to putting it right next to the task name. Let's try next to the task name, see how it, so due date. Why is it like, it's doing like, already doing the changes when I don't want it to. So due date position should be next to task title. And then in editing an existing task, should the due date show as this from the task? It on edit due date. For week context in the work week, should it find the last day of the whole? Yeah, we should move. So basically, what I'm saying is if your work weekend's on Friday and you're sitting there on Friday saying I'm adding a task for this week, it should default to the following week. Should the form strip time portion when displaying? Yes. I don't know if in the future will, there'll be a requirement at the time. But as for right now, I don't think that I want to open that can of worms. I've been debating because I feel like the way my system is set up, I look like I'm looking away from my stuff. So maybe I should switch it to like something like this, right? So it actually looks like I'm looking at what I'm doing. Instead of but I'm just so used to the other layout. I guess I could get used to this. Let's try it out. What else can we look at in the meantime? allow the edits during this session. I really gotta start checking a lot of this in. Move my camera over a little bit. Alright, let's go see. Let's first see if there's any errors, right? Let's go look and see if there's any errors. No errors, good. So let's reload. So now it is 15 minutes. I like that because you can have the due date next to the task name, and that looks a lot cleaner, I think. My biggest concern is how does it work when you have this session? See that? Now, interestingly, you can see here that if I add it to this week, it ends on the 17th, which is Sunday, which is the end of my work week. If I add one here, it should just blank. Should not have anything. If I add a task for today, it should be due date of today, which is the 12th. Perfect. Let's go do some code review just to make sure it didn't do a whole bunch of spaghetti code to do something. Get end of work week. I've been seeing this. I think I saw this somewhere else. Where did I see this at? Because I think that I think we have the utility for that. Let's go look at our utilities folder. See, this my only issue is that like now what you can see here is kind of reduced. But anyway, I'll just try to make sure that you can still see what I'm looking at. Time utilities, week utilities. Get workday bounds. Did we run out of time again? Oh wait, that's on the other tasker. Okay. All right, sorry. Sorry about that. So I don't like the way that this did that, so we're gonna make some adjustments here. So review utilities and move the get end of week. Can't remember if it exists or not, so but anyway, that being said, I want it to be moved out. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. The dog was barking. She's right here. All right, so what are we doing? Okay, good. All right, so that's been removed. And we can, yeah, helpers inline session list. All right, what's next? We have the sessions table. I just noticed that that's its own. That needs to be moved out. Let's let me open that on its own. So if we look at the task form, you can see that you have the form and the controllers and inputs, but then we also have where was it? I thought I saw it. Yeah, here. We have this other component called task sessions list. Can I get down? I don't know. She's pondering. Yeah, so we have this task sessions list. Let me copy this. I want to clean this up. Okay, you're gonna have to make this work somehow. Move the task session list to be its own component. With its own Let's say hi. Over here. Over here. And naturally, because this is gonna break stuff, let's go to our PowerShell and run build. Just so that it builds our TS file for our styles imports. You know, these dogs are bird dogs, and anytime that I sometimes like to tease her, because look at what happens when I blow air on her ear, not necessarily in her ear, but like on the outer part. You see that? And also, if you blow air like around like this area of her body, like it starts flinching. And I don't know if it has to do with like if from a bird dog sensibilities, right? Because when they have to go hunting or what have you, um, they have to have a sense of, you know, the air around them. I think she wants to get down already. Let's see if she'll get down. Yeah, there she goes. Anyway, what was I doing? Shoot. I went to my... Oh yeah, I was reviewing the code. We have our task form and now it's clean. Yeah, I think it looks good. In our form, obviously looks great. So if I go to the form, you can see due date looks good. So I think that's complete. So we can go ahead and complete this task. Another thing I need to work on is on this the GIF. Alright, what was next? Code review on the due date. Technically did that already, but it doesn't hurt to take a look at it one more time. And go ahead and start and saving everything that we've changed. So or we can move this back. I'm back on the other camera, the other view. All right, so let's look at the validation because that was another thing that I was looking at. So the task form validation, where is it? Here we go. Very good. So we're importing these directly from Yup. We're adding some defaults to the estimated seconds. and the due date still remains an empty string that gets updated on the form load. Very good. I think everything's good. The task form now does not. Oh, wait a minute. Is it still working to save? The due date blank? Because remember, it had a save anyway. Let's test it. So on these, it doesn't have a date. Test blank due date. And we can just say this is a testing. Save that. It does let me save. Okay, so all is well. I just wanted to make sure because there used to be a function that said like handle save even if the due date is blank, and I was worried that that was going to be a problem, but it doesn't appear to be a problem. So this test due date thing could be good because it did allow me to close the due date with no issues. So we're good there. And then the code review worked good as well. And the recurring task feature implementation, I think is gonna have to wait. We're nearing the end of the stream session, so I usually only stream for an hour. Shameless plugs, if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. If you're on Twitch, follow me on Twitch. If you have any questions, if you're a SharePoint developer or you want to become a SharePoint developer, I'm always open to answer any questions. You can always put something on chat and I'd be happy to address it. I have gotten questions about coding in general in the past, and I get sidetracked a lot, so I tend to not really. I'll give you some brief answers, but if you have anything specific, you know, maybe a web part that we can work on, as I'm getting close to finishing this one, and I have a few others that I kind of left in the wind. I do need to concentrate on getting those completed. So I'm gonna try to get those completed as well. I want to create a site for these where they can be downloaded from. So if you have SharePoint, you can leverage these web parts. Probably put them on the marketplace as well. I haven't decided yet how to approach this, especially for something like this application. I don't know how to approach it, to be honest. I'm fairly new to this stuff. I usually work for companies, and so I mean, I still have a day job. So this is like my lunch break. I come here on my lunch break and I code away on some personal projects, and then get back to my regular day job. I'm blessed enough to still have a regular day job right now with this economy. But anyway, not gonna get on that soapbox. But yeah, like I said, if you're on YouTube, give this a like, follow, or subscribe there, follow on Twitch. I really appreciate it. And again, we'll work on the recurring tasks portion of this on the next time we meet. With that being said, thanks for joining me. Peace.